Well, it looks like we're live, Patrice.
All right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Peter. I am thrilled. This is my first ASA Live in the 6 months that I have been with the organization. And this is a conversation between you and I that is probably long overdue. And I'm so thankful that we're doing it during ASA Rise kickoff week.
I agree. I'm really proud to have you lead our effort here, ASA Rise, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, it's been a very busy week, and in part because I think we are also energized and animated by what we've launched. So, why don't we talk a little bit about what ASA Rise is?
Okay.
And then maybe we can give a little backstory to it and talk about how folks can learn from it.
That sounds really great as a plan, Peter. ASA Rise is a 20-week leadership development program for early and mid-career professionals in the field of aging that are BIPOC identified. And so, what ASA Rise strives to do is to not only develop DEI competencies with the fellows so they're able to lead diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in their own organizations, in their own communities. It's also geared towards building a network of like minded folks. There's a major attention to the relationship building process between the ASA Rise Fellows and a vetted pool of ASA members that will serve as a mentor. It is also a program that has a focus on developing a skill set of what it means to intentionally lead with equity and inclusion in the center. And we're hoping that as we move through our 10-week educational component, that we'll also have a focus on developing competency in terms of aging policy, practices, and advocacy. That we will be in a position when we come to the second 10 weeks of the program to really engage our fellows in a 10-week national project that is focused on how would a allyship program um, within the field of aging look to really take that structural transformation that we need within the field to the next level.
Yeah, Patrice, I'm imagining after 20 weeks, we're going to have 20 new social justice advocates, really.
Right.
We're going to have people really fighting for older adults and the kinds of people who are going to be front and center are those that historically have been marginalized. And I
Right.
think that's what's really exciting about this new effort. Patrice, you wouldn't know this, and truly, this predates my tenure at ASA as well. But the ASA has had a long history of being extraordinarily inclusive and
Mm-hmm.
progressive in the
Mm-hmm.
field of aging, right? So there have been wonderful efforts as early as the 60s and the 70s by leaders within the organization to elevate the issues of inclusion and diversity all the way up to the White House during one of the first councils on aging. At annual conferences, there would be workshops and resources around these issues. They were one of the first to talk about the unique needs of LGBT older adults.
Mm-hmm.
So the organization has had a really proud long history of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think as recently as the early 90s till about the mid noughts, they ran a leadership program called New Ventures in Leadership. And NVLers, as they're now
Mm-hmm.
called, are alumni who graduated from this program and now are leading major aging related organizations across the country. So we have a really nice legacy to build upon with ASA Rise, but I actually am particularly proud because it does more than, I think, so much of what ASA has done historically. And let's talk a little bit about some of these fellows. Patrice, who's in this? What do they represent? States. Tell me about what they do.
All right. We received over 120 applications for ASA Rise during our application period, which closed early in the fall. Out of that 122 applications, there were 32 exceptionally competitive applications. And we made an internal decision as an organization that we would accept all 32 of those applicants. And to our surprise, all 32 accepted.
They all
And
said
so,
yes.
right. The applicants come from 25 states, including Hawaii. We also have a fellow representing the District of Columbia. They represent interests in all 5 of our strategic priority areas that we have at ASA. They represent a host of different sectors and industries within the aging landscape. They represent a range of diverse social identities. We have some that are, the majority of our fellows are early or mid-career, but we have a couple of fellows that are actually senior, in senior level positions. The average time spent in actively engaged and working in the field of aging is 12 years, but it spans anywhere from 3 to 27. We have folks that are entrepreneurs from the age tech world. We have folks that are engaged daily in terms of direct contact with older individuals. We have those that are more on the supervisory or the policy or the advocacy side. We even have a fellow that is from philanthropy and aging. So, I mean, we really paid attention in terms of selecting fellows that would add to the diversity of the ASA Rise cohort.
And I was privy to sit through the first session that you were leading on Tuesday, and I was struck by how important this new program is to so many of the fellows, without even knowing really how it's going to go over the next 20
Right,
weeks. The
right.
optimism, the hope, and the
Yeah,
real appreciation for its existence. One person in particular said, "This is the first time in my professional career that I'm in a room, albeit virtually,
right,
with people who look like me."
right.
And that's really striking. That's really
Mhm,
striking,
mhm.
and an important thing to change. I'm wondering, Patrice, why else is ASA Rise so important?
Peter, this morning, as I was writing in my journal, I asked myself that same question. And what came to mind for me is that ASA Rise is really about the conscious decision to build bridges of all different types. It's about the fellows building bridges between themselves and others, building bridges from who they are currently to where they want to be, both professionally and personally. And it's also about building the bridges between the world that is and the world that can be. So, building bridges is really tough, Peter. I mean, what I am so impressed about with our fellows is that they are taking the risks to develop these type of bridges. I mean, for decades we've sought to shift power to marginalized communities. And ASA has been at the forefront in our ventures of trying to change the material conditions of those that are underrepresented, and to have opportunities for those that are underrepresented, both as practitioners and as leaders, as well as the services that we provide to underrepresented, marginalized communities, the seniors in those communities. How we actually go about achieving that full potential. And so I really think that what is unique about ASA Rise is that at the heart, it's all about structural transformation and how we go about doing that. And part of how we're trying to engage that question is through the lens of equity and inclusion, and what that actually means. And so what we're trying to do is that we're trying to impart to the fellows a way of actually seeing things from a new perspective. And that's what an equity and inclusion lens is. I mean,
Yeah.
it is really about, it's something that you use daily, and it's essential to ensure we are asking ourselves the questions that will make us think about being equitable and inclusive in all aspects of our work and our interactions. So,
Right.
I
And
mean,
part of that, sorry, go ahead, Patrice.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say part of what you're describing also gets to um, questioning the status quo
Right.
and really seeking understanding about how we've been conditioned,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and how we need to challenge ourselves in understanding and seeking greater understanding as to why these systemic inequalities even exist, and not make
Hmm.
assumptions that they don't exist, or
Hmm.
that they do exist
Hmm.
in a certain way. I
Hmm.
think that's what's really exciting about
Right.
this 20-week journey as well,
Right.
is that people will be truly in a place at least once a week with some homework
Yeah.
focused on understanding one another and understand and creating a greater sense of understanding. I know
Right.
that's the curriculum that you're designing. It's going to be really impactful, and of course, um, this whole thing would not be possible without the early support of some of our funders, like
Yes.
the Archstone Foundation, RF Foundation for Aging, CVS Health, and the John A. Hartford Foundation.
Yes.
They saw in ASA Rise a real opportunity for impact, to continue ASA's longstanding mission, but also to help meet their own goals of
Correct.
elevating and helping professionals in the field of aging um, become much more inclusive.
Right. Right, right. I mean, in talking with our funders at various times as I was developing the curriculum for the program, that was a major selling factor for them to invest in the program. They saw the importance of creating a more inclusive and equitable aging landscape. They understood the unique and specific challenges that their respective organizations have faced in terms of their own internal efforts at representational diversity of not only their staff and their leadership, but also among their grantees.
I agree. So, Patrice, let me ask you in our final few minutes, um, 5, 10 years from now, what do you hope these fellows say to you when they reconnect? What do you hope for them?
In 5 to 10 years, Peter, I hope that they have realized their leadership vision, that they have been able to take the leadership development plan with actionable steps that they will be developing over the course of the next 20 weeks, and have been able to see the benefit of actually putting in that work. I hope that they are able to realize their career trajectories. I hope that they are able to actually not only actualize, but also operationalize their leadership trajectories. I hope that they will come back and give back, just as we are beginning to see with the over 350 MVL alums that are coming back for ASA Rise. They want to give back. They want to, bring along the next generation of BIPOC aging leadership.
Yeah, and in the words of one of our current ASA board members, I'll paraphrase this, but I hope they also come back and remember the fun they had,
Fun.
the opportunity that was created as a result of committing to the 20-week program,
Mhm.
and ultimately that they become future ASA board members
Right,
and future
right,
leaders in
right.
this field. I think that would be terrific as well.
And that's what we have at the heart of ASA Rise. The very individuals that should be in the room as we're discussing how to eradicate systemic inequities in the field are not there. And we need them there. We need their voices. We need their input. ASA Rise is a program that not only develops that talent, but we're also working to place them at the table.
Yeah, Patrice, look, this has been over a year-long effort that I very much personally committed to, because I heard from our members who talked about
Right,
the need for
right.
this type of program. I'm excited that you're on Team ASA and you're leading our efforts here in executing this program to its success. I'm extraordinarily proud of the fellows that have signed
Yeah,
up and are
yeah,
on this journey with
yeah,
us
yeah,
together. And
yeah,
I'm expecting great things from
yeah.
you, from the fellows, and really from the ASA membership to embrace these new leaders in aging. So thank you, Patrice, for spending a little time with me today on this ASA Live.
Well, Peter, thank you very much for having me. And if the support that we have received from the board, the ASA Rise Advisory Group, and the membership at large is any indication, I don't think you'll be disappointed.
It's been wonderful, hasn't it? It's been a real
It, it,
community
it
effort.
really has. It really has. I mean, this has really been a collective effort. And I certainly am appreciative of not only the support from the ASA staff and leadership, but just the way that our membership has rallied behind this program.
And speaking of rallying, our ASA membership is going to be able to meet these fellows in person at
That's
our On
correct.
Aging conference,
Yes.
April 11th in New Orleans. We will be there. We will all be vaccinated and we'll be wearing masks and we'll have gotten tested before we go. But we have robust programming. And real opportunity to just re-engage with one another after what's been basically a 2-year hiatus. So
Right.
I know, Patrice, you'll be there.
I'll be there. And 30 of our 32 fellows have already committed to being at On Aging. So we will actually have some ASA Rise specific programming that will take place. 9 of our fellows have actually had presentations accepted for On Aging. So they will actually be presenting their research, their praxis within the field of aging.
It's really exciting.
It's
And
so
for
exciting.
those who can't make it, we have a virtual option. So they can sign up for the On Aging Forum, which is sort of the conference light, if you will.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
there's a really nice virtual option as well for those who
Yeah,
just aren't able to make it. Anyway, Patrice, I know you have to run because you
I
have an ASA Rise session to
I
facilitate.
do. I do shortly. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Patrice. And thank you, everyone, for watching.